In this video, I'm going to talk about 6 ways that you can increase your profit margins in your IT services business. Hi, my name's Rory McCaw. Welcome to Self-Made Strategy. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I built an IT consulting company in 2001 and sold it in 2018. And I'm here to share my tips and tricks and my experience with you so that you can avoid some of the mistakes that I made. You can grow your business faster and you can achieve a greater level of success than I've achieved. So point number 1, don't think about hourly rates. You want to move as quickly and as fast as possible away from charging by the hour. Hourly rates are a way to really cannibalize your own success. When you're not working, you're not getting paid, and you have a limit really on how much you can grow if you're just charging an hourly rate. So try to move away from hourly rates as quickly as possible. If you are limited or you feel you can only charge hourly rates, figure out a way to charge more per hour so that you can make a greater profit or have greater profit margins. Second, create very profitable fixed price offerings. So think about services that you provide that you could package into a fixed price offering, and you could charge more than you would typically make if you were charging per hour. But you have to be careful about how you box that offering. You want to make sure that you mitigate your risks, and any opportunity where there's any opportunity for scope creep, in other words, where the customer asks for something that isn't included in the boxed offering, you need to make sure that those types of things are called out as being out of scope, and that anything out of scope can be either assessed and you can create a new packaged fixed price offering for the out of scope portion, or you can default to an hourly rate. And this is where you can kind of upsell them on an hourly rate. So let me give you an example of that we ran into quite often and how we handled it. So we were doing usually consulting projects that involved multiple phases. The first phase was architectural design and requirements gathering. So we gathered requirements, we designed the architecture. I got those backwards, but we gathered the requirements, we designed the architecture. After that, the customer needed to set up virtual machines or servers in Azure. And so they would go away and do that on their own. They didn't pay us to do that most of the time. And then they would call us, say, okay, we're ready. We would come in, we would perform the installation of the Microsoft software that we were helping them to implement and deploy. And once the software on the server side was deployed, then we would need to deploy the agents. And this is where there was an opportunity for scope creep. So we would usually say, we will help you to deploy up to X number of agents, and we will show you how to do that. We will help you to operationalize it, but then we will hand off the remainder of the agent deployment to you and your team. And this would be beneficial in a couple ways. First, it would keep your costs down, Mr. Customer. And secondly, it would allow your team to understand the deployment mechanics. Now, where the opportunity for an upsell was there were times when, usually in a deployment, 80 to 90% of the agents deployed successfully, but 20% had problems. The 20% that had problems were usually because of issues on the systems that we were deploying agents to. In a large organization, a lot of servers haven't been or don't get rebooted for many months at a time. It's business people believe they're rebooted on a frequent basis when they're patched, but the reality is most often there's a group of servers that are never touched. They're never rebooted, never restarted, because they don't want to run into problems. The other challenge we have is that a lot of these servers that don't get restarted very often aren't up to the current standards from a security perspective. So when they don't have the current patches or security fixes installed on them, those can be prerequisites to the deployment of an agent. Other factors on the Microsoft side would be .NET frameworks and a number of technical things that really aren't important, but they would limit the ability to successfully deploy an agent. And we would offer to help remediate these issues, but we knew that the remediation would be quite lengthy in time, only due to the customer's own processes and the inability to do things quickly from a customer perspective. So we said we would do this on a time and materials basis so that it mitigated our risks but allowed for additional billing to the customer. And that would be one example of how we created a boxed offering but mitigated our risk that led to an upsell. The other thing to consider that can increase, and this is number 4, that can increase your profit margins, is to create ancillary offerings. So when we were doing performing a consulting engagement or consulting project, we would be getting near the end of the project and the customer has now a need to teach and train their people how to use this software, how to incorporate it into their day-to-day activities and effectively operationalize the technology so that it's adopted successfully, it's used, people know how to use it, and it's integrated into the inner workings of the corporation, into the customer's business. So we would offer training on this. And a lot of the training, if Microsoft had any, which for many years they didn't, so we created some and we were the sole provider of that unique training, so that set us apart as well. That was a differentiator. But when Microsoft did come up with their own training, the training was around the installation, and we'd already done that. Most customers don't need to know how to install the software, they need to know how to operationalize it. So we created an operators course, an operations course, how to operationalize it within the business. And that got us in front of different business units that were going to be working with the software and going to be able to receive the alerts from their applications. So these were business groups within the larger group or organizational entity that were focused on specific business, we'll call them business units or revenue departments. So what would be an example of that? In a car rental agency, one of them was truck rentals versus car rentals. And the truck rental unit used different systems in the back end and different applications than the business to consumer model on the car rental side. They used a different application set. So they both needed to be trained on how to receive and remediate the alerts from their applications because they were different, but it's the same application that they're working with. So we could write one training manual, but then speak to how to do it with their internal applications and leverage their own people's knowledge of that. So that's an ancillary offering, and that's one way to increase your profit margins. Number 4, identify what your competitors are selling to your customers. If you can identify an opportunity where you're doing a project and delivering some services to a customer, but one of your competitors is coming in and selling them something, maybe there's an opportunity for you to take that sale away from the competitor and sell whatever it is that they're selling. Maybe it's hardware or software, maybe you can sell that to the customer. Maybe it's training and you can sell that to the customer. So look for these different opportunities because they exist all the time within an organization. And one way to position that is you can say to the customer, a lot of customers are trying to reduce the number of vendors they have and better manage their do a better job in vendor management, because the less vendors they have, the less complexity and the easier it is to do business and to manage those limited list of vendors. So think about vendor management, position vendor management. Working with one vendor is easier, it's simpler, single point of contact, one throat to choke. Those are kind of some of the things that you'll hear out there when having those types of conversations. And then the 6th is get referrals, reviews, and write case studies on all of your successful projects. Call out the sector, call out the business. You may not be able to use the customer's name and logo. You'll probably need permission from their legal department for that, but you can talk about the business and the sector without using the customer's name. You can talk about the business and technical challenges and what you were trying to help them overcome and how you help them to overcome those challenges. And then you can leverage those materials with your sales team or in conversations with other customers in the same sector or in the same space. And that's going to help you in the long run. The other thing to do is, and I talk about this in another video that I released recently, throw a party. At the end of every customer engagement or consulting project, throw a success party. Celebrate your success with the customer. Bring in maybe a catered lunch, have a cake with your logo on it, and celebrate the success. Make sure key executives are going to be in the office that day so that they can hear this party, they can ask what's going on, you can get introduced to them, you'll make a new contact that you may not have had, they'll learn about your success within that organization, and it'll just give you an additional point of contact that you can leverage potentially in the future, or at least start a communication with, to further educate them on some of the additional services that you and your company provide. There's nothing better than networking around a successful project because everybody's happy, it's come to a conclusion, it was a success, and you were the company that provided that, so it's highly likely they're going to choose you again if they have a similar need because you've built that credibility with them. Good luck in building your business. If you like these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button.